Welcome back, everyone. This is Overwatchers. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. He's Patrick Beja, actually here. And he's Chris, a.k.a. Chanman V. Welcome back, guys. And a super extra special welcome back to Patrick. Because he's been...
Thank you. Yeah, I was busy last time having a birthday and doing official stuff. But yeah, I'm back. And I'm out of the Legion tunnel. So I'm not only playing World of Warcraft Legion every day, all the time. I placed for my Season 2 placement matches, and I'm back in Overwatch, really enjoying it.
Okay, so that's why you skipped last episode. It wasn't because it was your birthday. It was just because all you were playing was World of Warcraft.
Well, I think anyone was playing was World of Warcraft.
That's what I was going to lead into. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is it didn't stop me from showing up, despite the fact that I had pretty much only been playing Legion that week. But... You know, such is life. You know, new games come out.
I might have been the only person in this world that wasn't playing Legion when it came out.
Yeah, you're one of those Warcraft hipsters. They're just like, no, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming. Actually, did you ever play WoW? I'm not sure if you ever played WoW, Chris.
I played vanilla WoW. Yeah,
okay.
I played vanilla WoW for a long time, but I hadn't played since then.
Okay, so you're a true hipster.
Yes, I guess I'm a true hipster.
Yeah. I played vanilla and stopped.
If I played WoW, I would like never be able to do anything. Like my productivity level would be at a 1%. That's kind of how it was when I was playing WoW way back when. So I know myself, and it was more of a discipline thing than anything else. I know it's awesome. So I know all of those expansions were awesome, including Legion, but. Some of those things I just got to miss out on in life.
Yeah, I understand. You're not missing out on Overwatch, though.
No, definitely not. I mean, Overwatch, you know, a game can last about, you know, it can last 10, 15 minutes, and you know, I can leave, or at least the game tells me, hey, you can leave now because you don't have to push the play button again. But with WoW, there's no such thing as a play button. You're just there forever.
That is true, but come on, let's be honest. Even though the game tells you, and you know that you don't have to push that play button again, isn't the result of that monologue or conversation, at least 90% of the time, isn't the result, I'll just play one more. And
when I win, I would say, yeah, you know, it is very, you know, I do press the play button more times than not. But when I'm losing on solo queue, I can say it's okay pushing the exit button.
Yeah,
it is.
The soul gets you.
The soul gets you, exactly.
I'm with you there, Chris. I would make the final argument that it is much easier to hit the play button again than it is to walk over to yet another flight master in Dalaran and move to the next area. You know, so my Hearthstone is my end game button in World of Warcraft right now. It's just like, I can't fly, so I'm not gonna bother. You know, I'm done for now. We're good. Whereas in Overwatch, it's just like, and lately I've only been playing with friends, so it's, you know, there's an enabler there with me. So it's always want to play one more. It's just like, yeah, why not? Why not? Hit the play button, go. So, thank you, Overwatch, you digital crack. So, anyways, Patrick, other than your birthday, what you been up to since you were last here?
So I guess, do you mean in the game or in general? I can tell you all about my life.
In general, I may be, leading into something that's in the notes.
So I have completed my placement matches for Season 2, and I was a little bit concerned in the beginning, but in the end, I didn't do too poorly. It was, I think, 4 wins, 6 losses, which I thought was going to be terrible. But we did go against some pretty good teams, and I placed gold with 2,186, I believe. So the experience was very different. Before we talk about, I've played since then, and I want to talk about that as well. But the experience of competitive was very different from season one. I mean, for me, on the systems point of view, it was really good. I mean, there was a lot of frustration, as in, inherent in any competitive game, but those didn't come from the systems. There wasn't the too much undecidedness. There weren't any the sudden death round or anything like that. The gold, the placement, I think, works a lot better. It feels, as we suspected and as we knew, really, it feels a lot better to be gold than to be rank 50 something. So that experience was really great for me. It was very smooth, very frustration free. The game itself, I think, I think it's a personality thing, but I often feel like I'm not getting into the same games as everyone else, because there is definitely some toxicity for sure, but for every player that is being a bad word, an idiot, let's say, there are going to be one or two that are relatively friendly, that, people will ask you to change characters every once in a while, but then if you explain it, they will be okay with it, and they'll let you try something, and if it doesn't work, you're polite back, then they will let you do it and not hackle you, and then you change if it doesn't work, and then you're happy when you win, and you're a little bit sad when you lose, and some people rage quit and don't want to celebrate, or obviously when you lose they don't celebrate. But overall, honestly, for a competitive environment, I think it's been as positive as I could expect. So that's my overall impression on going back into competitive after season one, which was a lot more frustrating. And I want to talk about the meta at my level afterwards, but I'm curious how you guys feel about the systems and the way it works within the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think the overall, all the changes, right, they made for season 2 in terms of the scoring and, removing overtime and all that. I think all of that's been great. I haven't had any issues with ties or feeling bad about ties and any of the time bank, system or any of that. I think all that has worked really, really well. And as far as like the rankings and just how, I guess, the matchmaking, I think the matchmaking is good. It's just, there's that element of Overwatch where it doesn't matter what rank you are, because a lot of times it has to do with just strategy, right? Or just composition on certain maps. And some people know it, some people don't, or some people, won't refuse to switch to different characters. And then you'll lose that way, right? Sometimes you'll lose or win easily. A lot of times, actually, you'll win or lose easily, depending on that. So for me, it's been more of games just not being super close. I think it's still an issue
Really?
where more games than not are, I think, one-sided for me, and it's hard to fix that. I think just because there's some maps that, again, like I think people just still haven't figured out exactly how to play them correctly, or there's some maps where playing one side there's less margin of error, or it's like harder to like really break it. So I don't know. That's what I noticed. How about you, Garrett?
Honestly, that was my experience. Very similar to you, I think, when I was solo queuing. But when I duo up with a buddy or more than just one friend, the games are significantly closer. Had some really close games last night playing with my buddy Azixa. But I think the reasons we lose, though, or the reasons when I lose or when I win, when things go badly, it's for wildly different reasons. It's a big mix. Some games I feel like are lost because, like you said, because of composition and a lack of really reacting to what you're going up against. Playing in a reactionary way. I don't see a lot of that, but there's also times where I feel like we're losing just because people don't understand you shouldn't run in single file. People don't wait after a wipe. People don't wait for res. And it's strange. I'm still getting yelled at as Lucio when I'm waiting for 3 people that just died to res so I can speed boost them back into the fight. And it's just like, why are you yelling at me? I'm just going to die if I run back in. And
Yeah,
that's the kind
that's-
of thing that's strange. So there seems to be, at least in gold, where I am, and it sounds like where you are, Patrick, pretty widespread in game knowledge.
That's, I made a very informal poll on Twitter, and the totally anecdotal result is that almost half of the people answering are in gold. There's a quarter in bronze, and then, roughly the same number in platinum and diamond or higher. I'm sorry, yeah, a quarter in bronze or silver, and then almost half in gold, 44%. So I agree. I think gold encompasses a lot of different play levels. So it's not completely unsurprising that you will have different experiences in that placement rank. And I've tried, I haven't played hundreds of games, but I've played a few, and I've tried to pin down in Season 1 and in Season 2 what you should do in order for your team to work better, whether you should tell people what comp to go with. And by the way, half the people have an opinion on this, and it's very often a different opinion. So, when people say, oh, but just listen to what I'm saying, it's really hard to do that because everyone's convinced they're right. And maybe, Chris, in your ranks in Platinum, I believe, people know better. But in Gold, you often have people telling you that you should go one way when it doesn't necessarily work, or people always say this and it doesn't work. And I've tried to, I thought it was maybe about communication. If you had more people on comms, it would work better. And every time I'm starting to pin down the reason why people are winning in Gold, I have a couple of matches where that thing doesn't happen at all, and we still win. So I'm sort of giving up. I'm just trying to play the best I can and to adapt, and hopefully that will be enough, because everything else I've tried to figure out hasn't worked out.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that it's I guess it's a good. I mean, this is generally a good thing, but it can be tough if you're just playing by yourself. Is I feel like the game is less, or the ability to carry in the game as a single person is less now. I mean, it's harder to carry as a single person now. So you do have to rely on more roles to be successful. I mean, and I think that's a product of just like new characters like Ana and just the maps. Like even Eichenwald as a map and whatnot. It's tough. You can't just go and Reaper and just go and Death Blossom into a bunch of your opponents now and just kill them, and then it's just easy kind of just to move the payload. It's much harder now just because the characters themselves are harder to kill. Zarya is like in every single game now. Zarya, but by herself is like one of the most one component that just makes just sustaining a very very that's just something that your team can live longer and whatnot, right? So I think from that standpoint, it's tough to do that. People that used to carry with Soldier, for instance, that's just impossible to do now because Soldier's been nerfed so much, and just the meta itself is more burst oriented. So in general, I think you do have more to have more coordination, and it can be a strategy too. But just generally, you have to have a team that's in sync, and if you don't, and your other, and the other team does, then it shows like big time, and it shows like it from the standpoint of you just don't get first objective, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
sorry, Garrett, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, last night, Daniel, my buddy, and I had a few games, and every single game he's just like, just turn on auto join on team chat. Let's just go for it. Sometimes you get people in there, sometimes you don't. And we did. And the games where we had more than just the two of us in team chat were just noticeably better games. Like, it was just more coordinated. Again, it's like at this level, any coordination is good. You don't need necessarily strategies. It seems to me that just moving as a unit and having proper placement on where you are in the map can make a huge difference, at least in Gold League.
Mm-hmm. And that actually is a super important aspect as well, because I think it was on Reddit that I saw this. I see everything on Reddit. So, but someone was saying, I'm really glad that this game allows for skill to not just be aiming, but positioning, composition, knowing what to do in which part of the map is super important. And it can, if you pick the right character to counter your, the defense team and go in the right position, it will, it is a skill you do need to acquire. So it's true. It's not just about aiming and pressing the button at the right time. So that definitely plays a role into it. And to what you were saying, Chris, another thing that I found that was very different, I wanted to talk about the meta a little bit. It has been, in some instances, very frustrating to see how the meta has evolved into the prevalence of tanks and support. To the point that I'm wondering if they aren't going to have to do something about it at some point, because I've had a number of points or matches where we were, half the team or, 4 characters from our team were on the point, and the other team was managing to stay alive for an incredible amount of time just because there were so many tanks and healers on, their side, but also on our side. So it was really hard to get something done and to get the point capped, because every time we would kill another couple, it would take so long that another couple of characters would show up, and they were also very resilient. And it's not, on every point and on every map, but certainly on the last points, it's not uncommon at all that you're going to fight for 30 seconds or 45 seconds and wipe the team multiple times. They're not all coming at the same time, but you're going to wipe them, get, 10, 12, 15 kills in order to get that cap. And that feels like it shouldn't work that way. It was, at least for me, it was quite frustrating.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because I think the importance of Mercy at like our level is super large because of maps like Hanamura, and other maps where the second point is super close to one side, right, or the defense. And like you said, when they come out with a bunch of tanks and stuff, they can just like sustain for a long time. And all they have to do is kill. If you don't have a Mercy or a Res, all they have to do is kill like 1 or 2 of you guys, and then it just, it starts to swing their direction, right? Just because of the distance to the spawn. So at our level, Mercy's huge. But if you look at the pro level, you don't see much Mercy at all, especially on those maps. And what gets me the most, oh my gosh, is when people think that like pro level meta is like the way you're supposed to play in these games. And people,
is so annoying.
It pisses me off so much. It's like, dude, we're not as good as those guys.
Yeah,
okay.
We're not all talking. You're literally typing to me right now, and guess what? That's not quick enough to react to any of this.
Well, not just that. It's like, Ana ults mixed with Reaper ults, and that being the meta, that just doesn't happen in our neck of the woods. And that kind of coordination, much less just being able to hit Ana's ult from just wherever she is compared to Reaper, is not an easy thing to do.
All right, so, I would make the argument that if you and your buddy are the ones pulling that off, that it's fine, because you can be like, yo, Reaper, you're too far forward. Stop moving for 3 seconds. Like, hang out on a rooftop. Let me hit you and then jump down and do it.
Well, the pros, like, they're not even like pros. The Ana will be like back line, and the Reaper will be up somewhere, and he'll jump down, and the Ana hits him.
Right.
As he's coming down,
right.
Which is
that's what I'm saying you shouldn't try and do if you're me. Like, don't bother. It's not happening. You're gonna look like a fool.
Exactly. So anyways, I think that, there's definitely, I think the tank heavy kind of meta, which we did see at the pro level with the 3-3s and the 4-2 type of compositions.
We saw an ebb and flow at that, though, right? Like, it got really big, and then EU was like, oh, hey, we can still play aggressive. We figured it out, guys.
Yeah, well, it was like, countering it just a bit, right? Just trying to stay a little bit ahead of that. But at the same time, I think it just happened that, we'll get into it a little bit later with the esports thing, but generally, I think the tanks are good, and a lot of it has to do with just Zenyatta being just being a little bit less in the metagame right now, and just Discord. But so when you do see the Discord,
I get Zenyatta's in all my games.
Oh, really? I see it in about like don't know, maybe a third of it now, just because I'm starting to see more Ana players and Lucio's really in Mercy too, right? Mercy's just a necessity in our level too.
Yeah,
In gold, at least, Lucio is unmovable. He is in every single game, which makes sense because he's so easy to get benefits out of. But
yeah, I really like Zenyatta's in our level because of the lack of communication. That Discord orb is basically a shot call. It's a very visual key, and I'm not saying everyone does it. You know, you can throw Discord on the healer on the opposing team all day. It doesn't mean everyone's necessarily going to do it, but it's better than nothing. It's better than stopping to type.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely true.
And I think the one thing I've seen work the most consistently was maybe something that is going to come naturally in the game. It was somehow flanking with a really fast character and picking off the healers. And usually it's Tracer, if you're managing to do that, you will, we were talking about the inability to carry. I don't think it's quite the same as carrying, but if you're capable of going with Tracer, picking off one healer, maybe two, and maybe a DPS, which when they're so focused on the tanks and healing the tanks is possible because you don't have that many threats to counter your Tracer, I think you can swing the game that way. So maybe that is a strategy that is going to develop at our gold-ish levels, but yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see how it evolves at this stage, whether it will evolve naturally or whether that tank-heavy meta influenced by the pros. And as you said, we have to do everything the pros do exactly for calm. So if not, or you're not playing right. If it's going to keep going, and they'll have to intervene.
And that's not a unique issue to Overwatch. Any game that has an esport, that is a very easy mental trap to fall into, which is I watch the pro games, I have this level of knowledge that I am now going to apply to my own games, and it's just like, well, no, you're not playing with 5 other people that you practice 8 to God knows how many hours a day with. It's just or
just even mechanically, you're not mechanically as good as these players, so you're not going to be as efficient as them with characters that require, or have a very high skill cap.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of funny that way. But yeah, I think Zenyatta is great, and I think the Tracer thing, to your point, Patrick, Tracer's one of those characters I think that's really good with Zenyatta too right now, just because when you get Discord on those tanks, then Tracer can actually do something to the tanks.
Yeah, Tracer. Really
if not, literally, she can only kill support, and people I think generally are getting better about, especially tanks, right? Like tanks. They generally won't be crazy aggressive, so they'll generally protect the support a little bit better than, say, a DPS character.
Tell that to the Winston that was on my team today. Oh, wait, that was Patrick.
Winston? Oh, nothing like Winston diving right now. It's fun, man.
Sorry, just ribbing you a little bit there, Patrick.
It was quick play. It was just for fun.
We ended up winning the game, so it's okay. It's okay.
We did win the game when I switched to Zarya, though.
Yes, so that is a very good distinction to make. But I think it's fine, and I'm just noticing a pretty wide gap, I think, in game knowledge and whatnot. But
and the other thing I wanted to mention was that on the day after I ranked, it wasn't so long ago, I played more. I played maybe 10, 12 games, and I lost, I don't know, 80% of them. It was pretty bad. I played today quite a bit as well. It was a lot better, but I lost that many games, and I lost like 100 points of ranking. So I don't know if I was, going against really superior teams or doing really well in my team, so I wouldn't get downranked too much. But losing about 10 games and only losing 100 points seems pretty surprising. But it was definitely a frustrating moment for me. I was like, what the? When you go on those losing streaks, you don't understand. And the most frustrating thing is that you don't know what you can do to get better, which I guess is what we always say. But
Well,
yeah,
that's where
it
you
was
have
better
to.
to me.
I mean, that's where you have to, I think, get a bit anecdotal. Like at the end of the day, the only thing you really have control over is your own play and your own experience. So you really should just start taking note of what's going on, what characters you were playing. And oh, hey, as X is in the chat room, my duo buddy, he makes a good point that really you should be like, do your research. Like you can go around on YouTube and you can find players at your level. You don't need to go and find the solo stream of a player from Envious. Go and find someone who is in Gold League, who is making progress, and kind of take note of what's working for them and compare it with your own notes. And yeah, it's a lot of work, but if you really want to climb, that's the kind of thing you have to do.
So it kind of leads into this point on the notes with me and laddering. And one thing I've noticed, and I feel like I've confirmed it with just talking with other folks, just particularly Stir at TwitchCon this past weekend, because I don't know if you guys watched Stir's stream, but he purposely tanked his rank at one point, semi-recently, where he went all the way down to 1500. And he wanted to see basically what characters, how he could climb. Is there an Elo Hell type of thing? And Stir's quite good. Stir's easily he's probably top 500 if he plays like just really, really hard all the time. And he was able to climb out of it. But one thing that I noticed when I'm playing, because I main Reinhardt, right? And I also play, like Lucy is another one of my mains. So I generally play tank and support, is that it's really hard to climb with tank and support. And I had issues where I was at a net negative too when I was at 50%. Net negative point wise, just from the standpoint of your ranking points, and that definitely feels bad, right? Whenever like if you're 50%, you would think that there would just be no movement, but and now it's movement from where I was placed. So I get that, like when you first play when you're first placed, it's not like completely accurate in just where you should be, but overall, I think that you make less of an impact in the game since generally you have two tanks. So if you're just one of the tanks, you're not going to necessarily move the ticker as much. You can do your job as well as you can, but in the end, even if your support's not playing 100%, your DPS still has to play super well. Like no matter what, the game's about killing people. If you're not killing people, then you're not swinging games or making progress in the game. So so I've concluded, and Stir concluded the same thing. He said that it's super much harder to climb up the ladder when you're playing either tank and support when you're in that silver, bronze, silver, and gold range. But if you play DPS, you can climb out of it. As long as you're obviously a good DPS player. But you're able to move it more. Also, I think that individual rating, or that individual score that plays into how many points you get or you lose, isn't fair to tanks like Reinhardt. Because Reinhardt, there's so many different roles that Reinhardt plays, in a game, and from the standpoint of analytics and stats, and how you would derive a formula to actually giving somebody points, I think that Reinhardt it'd be very hard, like for me to even come up with a correct one or one that would be fair to Reinhardt, because like let's just say you have a game where there's a Bastion on my team, right? If the Bastion's on my team and he's like, just say on Route 66, he's on top of the roof, I'm just sitting up there just shielding for him. So like the only stat I'm getting really is damage blocked. Maybe I'll get some damage myself if my my actual E hits anything or anything, something like that. But generally speaking, that's about the only stat I'll get. And that stat, you can't. It's hard to value because it's so easy to get damage blocked at the same time.
Yeah.
So those type of games, I get very little points. And it's not fair because like I feel, my role is very important in that, just as important as say like a Mercy in that whole setup. And it's definitely true about certain maps where Reinhardt has a specific role. He can't be aggressive. He can't go and push it. There's some maps where it's fine because I can like get a ton of kills because I'm just generally an aggressive Reinhardt. But there's some I have to just shield so the Roadhogs can pull or, Zenyatta's can shoot behind it, just that sort of thing, right? And it's super tough. I wonder if any other Reinhardts like in the chat like have the same issue.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's and like to add insult to injury, those games where you just shield the Bastions are kind of boring. But at the end of the day,
dude, I don't mind boring games sometimes. All right, like it's like, oh yeah, This is one of those relaxing games. I just hold the right button the whole time. This is cool.
I'm just saying I'd be a little more incentivized to do the correct yet boring thing if I knew at least at the end I would be rewarding with a few extra points. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad Overwatch is at least making an effort to give different amounts of points to people on the same team, regardless if they won or lost. Because there are other games, Heroes of the Storm, that don't do that at all. But yeah, it's there's definitely room for improvement. But like you said, Chris, and I think we even talked about this on the last episode, it's a very difficult thing to it's a very difficult system to come up with. And to make sure that it is fair and that it is correct. Because what do you do? What do you track at that point? Do you build something into the game that's like, well, you spent this much time around Bastion with this specific ability activated,
hard.
so we're giving you points. I mean,
I don't know.
That's the only idea I can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So overall, I mean, when you get into the nitty-gritty and when you get into the detail, when you look at any system close enough, you're going to find frustrating things, especially if you spend a lot of time in it. Overall, what do you think of Season 2?
Overall, again, if I wasn't, if I played more DPS, I'm starting to try to play more Reaper now, just because of just that fact, or at least my discussion with Stir. Overall, to me, it's been frustrating, just to be honest, just because I wasn't, just because I haven't been able to climb. Yeah, I've just been dropping, where I feel like at the very least I should just be like staying in the same place, and that has more to do with.
Maybe you're not that good, Chris. Maybe you don't belong in Platinum.
Real talk.
But when I'm getting,
maybe the system's working perfectly fine.
I guess, but I'm getting cards like every single time, and when I play with like other players, like my friends, they agree. They're like, you're definitely way better than where you're ranked right now. Or at least not way, but just better. Just better.
Maybe you should hang out with Patrick more, because clearly he'll just tell you suck. I think your friends are just too nice.
It's like,
no, I don't know. I mean,
in the mirror, man. Take a look at yourself.
the thing I'm trying to say is that I also, I don't know, maybe I don't feel that way, but I think a lot of people feel that way. And it can't be the case for everyone, right? I don't think anyone says, yeah, I'm silver, that's where I belong, or maybe some people do, but I've never heard them.
I think
every person I talk to about competitive think the next rank, the one just above where they are, is the one where they belong. And they would be happy if they were there, but they just can't get there for some understandable reason, which is, you give it the name Elo Hell, or your teammates, or communications, or something, right? And I'm not saying that's the case for you, Chris, but I mean, it's definitely the case for me. I definitely belong in Platinum. Everyone else is wrong. It's just I'm pointing it out. But I don't know. Maybe it is.
I believe me, Patrick. I've definitely considered that a lot, and it's just like over time, it's just like, it's one of those things where I just, it's just that feeling of not necessarily climbing, but at least just sustaining, and I just don't feel like I've been able to do that, with Reinhardt, and sometimes it does cause you to tilt a little bit, obviously, and you play worse. But I think I'm pretty honest to myself about when I don't play well, and I know what characters where I shouldn't be ranked higher. Like every character is a little bit different in terms of skill wise, and so if I'm playing Reaper, like I think I should drop. If I'm kind of getting used to playing Reaper again. But Reinhardt, actually, I think I play at a pretty high level, just in my level scope, and I just feel like I'm probably getting placed as if I was playing just a character that I'm not as skilled at, which is kind of a bummer. But that's just my experience. I mean, I think generally people are having a good, just a good experience with this season. And again, like there hasn't been very, very little complaints on Reddit about just the format of it all now. I think they've nailed it down. I don't think there's any tweaks that they really need to make from here to season 3. Can you guys think of anything? Is there any bit of the format that you don't like?
I don't think so.
Not really, honestly. I've been overall happy with season 2. Like I said, I think I'm the only person on the show where I'm like, yeah, I think I belong in gold. Definitely solo. As a solo player, I 100% belong in gold. But no, I mean it's the system is good now, and I really do like now that we have these kind of bracketed sections of points, so I can say, oh, I'm gold. My buddy Chanman, he's platinum. When we play, we can still play together because thank God, we're within a close enough league that we can play together.
That's yep.
Now, who is we do obviously if I had friends that were better at the game, I don't. Seriously, guys, we all need to up our game, but it would be an issue if I couldn't play with my friends. That's an issue I run into in Heroes, and it does take a bit of the shine away from the experience. But I don't know. I think they did a really good job with season 2 overall.
Mm-hmm. I think the only thing we could ask for reasonably in the next iterations, I think, is what you were talking about, Chris, making sure that every role gets proper consideration in the way it's considered when you gain or lose points. And that's sort of looking at it very closely, but that's the one thing that I think is warranted.
Yeah, hopefully, and that's the kind of thing I expect to be tweaked over time. It's not the thing I expect them to get right out of the gate. It's not the kind of thing where I'm sitting here going, how can this not be perfect? Chris just sat there and explained exactly why it's not perfect yet, because it's mind-boggling to discuss.
I don't even know if you can make it perfect. It's so hard. It would take so much analysis for you to, in meta-analysis, right, for you to even make a perfect system.
Yeah.
That being said, when you play a good Reinhardt and you help your team win, you're still going to gain points, right? So it's not you're maybe going to gain less ranking. I mean, maybe you're going to gain less than if you were super awesome, Genji called Naruto 66.
Come on, man! It's XX_Sephiroth. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're still gonna earn points. So it should be the same. It should be aligned with the DPS. But
you can still climb. It's just it's a slower climb than I think than with DPS.
Yeah, no, but for me overall in season 2, any frustration I've had with the game has been from other players, not from the Overwatch team. Like
itself, yeah. Which, when you look at season 1, is a pretty good improvement because a few months ago people were very frustrated with.
I was
competitive
extremely unmotivated to play competitive in season 1, and now season 2. Even when I just kind of want to play a casual game, I would rather play it in competitive because I like the hero limit. I'm fine kind of staying in a stalemate in gold. It doesn't really bother me for some reason. I don't know. I think it's because I think I honestly belong there. Whereas in a game like Heroes, I'm like, no, I'm totally better than this. You're all scrubs. I need to climb. Get me the hell out of here.
I have less of a competitive block than I did last season. Now I'm like, maybe it's because I placed gold and I was afraid I would play silver, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can play competitive. Whereas in season 1 I was like, oh my god, maybe I'm gonna lose a point. What happens if I lose a point? It's gonna be horrible.
Yeah, my mindset with Overwatch is way closer to my mindset with StarCraft. Like in StarCraft, I was just like, I will never be to a certain level on this game, and I accept that, but I still love it.
I mean, speaking of StarCraft, StarCraft did something really interesting recently, and it's something that I'm wondering if Overwatch can do to a degree because of the vast difference between quick play and competitive play at this point. And what they did was they actually have an MMR based on the race that you're playing, or a ranking based on the race that you're playing now, which I think it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot.
There's obviously some complexity to playing just to having the ladder be, that just an additional 2 ratings, right? Like, so there's essentially like everybody's an additional 2 players now, if you look at it in a weird way in terms of the just the overall ladder. But with Overwatch right now, I feel like one thing that is still just slightly an issue is that now it's cool, everybody wants to play competitive, but now quick play has just become funsies, and it's actually not a good place to practice like one of your off characters. So there really is no place for you to practice an off character without, so if you do it in competitive, you just tank. And that kind of sucks for your team when you're doing that, and because you're not ranked appropriately based on that. And the only way to do it, at least that I found, is I just have a Smurf account that I play with, like, my son and other things.
To practice.
Yeah, to basically practice, because that's like a lower rank, and it's ranked appropriately based on my other off characters.
Yeah, and that works, but it's definitely not a perfect answer.
No.
I don't want to have to buy Overwatch again.
No, you don't. Buy a 20.
Listen, I love the game, and I want to support you guys, but I don't want to buy the game again. Like, get those damn comics out. I'll support you by buying more comics and merch, and I don't need to buy the damn game again.
Yeah.
All right,
so I don't
should
know
probably
if
move on. We've been on this for 40 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's thank our patrons and use that as a way to move on. We are supported by those of you over at patreon.com/Overwatchers for supporting this podcast. We'd like to thank our producers, LVE and Kettle and Clock. Kettle and Clock is one person. There's just an and in there. Also, we'd like to thank Low XW, Alexander MR, Kettle E, Chris P, Mitch W, Shiri Trap, Captain Purple, a.k.a. BVB. You have 2 aliases, dude. That's not how it works. And Levy, a.k.a. Alebeard. See, that's how an alias works. You give your real name, and you give your alias. Not 2 aliases. Come on, Captain Purple. You're killing me.
Maybe his real name is Captain Purple.
Okay.
You don't know.
All right. I called shenanigans on a patron on Angry Chicken yesterday. I can't remember the name, but I'm calling shenanigans again. I sincerely doubt this is the name you were given at birth. But anyways, thank you, patrons. And if you're enjoying Overwatchers and you'd like to hear more, go to patreon.com/Overwatchers to support us. Now, let's talk about May being ridiculous on Hanamura once again. 2 episodes in a row. Last episode, we talked about dropping an ice wall and basically creating a highway coming out on the attack side on Hanamura with a May. Well, now you can just create a lovely hallway, basically, coming out from attack on Hanamura. This came from a Brazilian Overwatch tournament, and basically, for the audio-only listeners who can't watch this clip that I'm going to copy and paste into chat room in case you missed it, once again, as you're coming out of that main gate, the kind of point of contention, as you're trying to get to the first point on Hanamura, there is that structure with the doorway on the right. You can angle a May wall so that it basically completely covers the doorway from the gate to the doorway to the structure to the right. And that's what happened in this tournament, and it's mind-blowing.
It's really funny, and I think it's the kind of thing that teams practice when they're training, and they come out with that strategy, which in this case only works, once or twice, because once it can happen, you refocus very quickly on the exit, and that exit is very small, so you can kill everyone in there. But the first time it happens, you're like, what's happening? And by the time you sort of figure it out, they have all funneled through the side and they're on the point already. So it's really funny to see that even now with over, if you count the beta, over a year of the game being live, you still have new strategies that are being found, and this one it's really funny to see happen. You can hear almost in your head the voices of the people on the team going like, what happened?
I believe
it's
loud
it's
exclamation.
definitely-
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, like, you can actually do that on Anubis too, to an extent, and it's one of those things where I think it might start becoming a regular thing, that sort of wall, because most of the time the other team is just waiting with their May to bisect everybody. So this is actually that totally prevents that from even going down to even do that. So to prevent that from happening, you'd have to be making yourself probably vulnerable to being split as a team by their May. I think that's going to be regular. I think that's going to be actually something used all the time now after that's been exposed. Yeah, it's really good. Everybody, because that's a huge point, being able to go into that room. Unless everybody got in that room and then you leave like the middle channel wide open, right? So it's yeah, I think that's an extremely great strategy.
Yeah, definitely works. Need to work on my May. May's real good now.
May has been really frustrating lately. I mean, she's always been frustrating. Who am I kidding? She's May. May is May. She's May, but she's also
on the Overwatch Open. We actually saw, on Anubis, we saw I forget who it was, Energy or somebody, Basically, the entire team just rushed that platform. You know, like when you're when you're attacking, and you know, where the turrets are always, you know, up on the little platform there, just from the high ground there. They just all rushed right into the wall, and May waited for like a half a second, and then she threw down the wall, and everybody elevatored up to that platform. And it was funny because she's looking on the ground for a second, and then she just assumes that everybody's on the wall with her, and then raises like 6 people or 5 people up with her.
Nice.
It was awesome. So good.
Just gross. Well, let's talk about some of the stuff that's been happening in the Overwatch community since we last got together. TwitchCon happened, and there was some epic Overwatch cosplay, including the winner of the cosplay contest, Hoku Props, with his Reinhardt cosplay, which is just massive. I'm not sure how he walks in this thing. I know
saw him.
Yeah, you went to TwitchCon.
I was there.
I'm sorry.
There. Yeah.
I'm
Dude,
sorry.
that costume was impressive. That Reinhardt one, it was so bulky, but he was able to move in it pretty well though. But I touched it. I was like, that thing is, you know, it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a heavy duty type of costume. So the way it looked, it was definitely legitimate, man. It was good.
So I don't understand how it works because he doesn't, you know, it's so big for people who don't have the video. It is actually, you know, so big that he can't. Is he on stilts? Is he like, does he have some kind of mechanical arm moving thing? Because he can't have his arm in the costume's arms, right? It's too wide apart. He doesn't have shoulders large enough to get that. I'm guessing he has some kind of mechanical exoskeleton type thing to control his costume arms with his inner arms that are in his costume's chest cavity.
I believe it was just stilts and basically puppetry.
Right, but I mean, if you look at the thing, he moves his arms pretty well. Maybe it's just moving up and down. I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely not his own arms in the costume's arms.
No,
definitely not. He's not that big of a guy.
No, but you can accomplish that with
not that big.
With building any type of extension. And now, if you wanted articulation of the elbows, which I don't believe he had, that's when you would need to get
I don't think
a little more.
Either. Yeah,
right.
Even more.
So it was just the shoulders that were moving, but not the elbows or the hands.
Yeah, I believe, and again, I didn't see it in person, but you did, Chris, but I believe, it's articulated at the shoulders, so I'm assuming he just had kind of like rod extensions that he could manipulate with his actual arms.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
really impressive costume.
So that one obviously was amazing. There were a lot of them. There were some great. I think Mercy was probably. I think she finished second. That was a really, really good one. But my favorite one was I was in line right for I think it was day 2, right? Was the cosplay, and the line was like super long. It was moving really fast, but it was crazy long, like TwitchCon long, you know, on the first day. And so I'm in line and I'm waiting, and there's a diva cosplay person in front of me, and you know, she's like facing like that way, or they're facing that way. And I was like, oh wow, you know, it looks really good. She got the wig and everything, and it's wearing that jumpsuit, you know, the pink and blue jumpsuit that you see all the time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's great. It's like, and before I could tap them on the shoulder and say, yeah, it's a cool costume, somebody else did. And they turn around, and it's a dude that has like a giant beard. And I'm like, whoa. Yeah, we're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, the hair's like perfect and stuff, and we're like, yeah, dude. Yeah, that's awesome.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I really like the gender bender. But for those who don't know, it has a name. It's gender bender cosplay.
Yeah.
And they're often, sometimes they're nightmarish, but sometimes they're really fun.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he had me fooled for sure until he turned around.
That's so fantastic. Also on the subject, definitely go check out the there was a Dragon Con has come and gone now. It's already been a month since then. It's nuts to think about, but if you haven't seen there'll be a link in the show notes, the compilation video of a lot of the cosplay from Dragon Con. There was some damn impressive Overwatch cosplay at Dragon Con as well, including my favorite Reinhardt skin, which I love. Absolutely love it. Fantastic work. So this is great. A teacher apparently revealed to his class that he plays Overwatch, and one of the students attempted extra credit by writing what every hero yells in Overwatch when they use their ultimates, including my favorite: Genji equals Japanese yelling, Hanzo equals more Japanese yelling.
And draws the dragons.
That's really funny, you know. It's and by the way, it was also on Reddit. I can't remember where it was exactly, but for Winston they wrote "Angry Gorilla Roar," so that's what he yells, obviously. And the person he was asked, so did you give them the extra credit? And he was like, no, they missed. It was a girl actually who tried to get extra credit like that, and he said they didn't get who was it? Widowmaker. So unfortunately, she didn't get the extra credit, which was
Ouch.
which was funny.
Ouch.
Oh, that's really mean.
But yeah, you know, I in my day that would have been impossible, like having a teacher that would actually relate to their class in like having a teacher coming out and saying, yeah, I bought Super Mario World last night and I played it a little bit. It was awesome. No way. If you mentioned you played video games, they would eye roll. I really maybe not envious of being in school right now. I'm glad I'm out. But you know, the idea that you could relate to your teacher with things like that is really cool.
I had two teachers I can remember in high school that I knew played video games. One of them had their PlayStation hooked up like in their office where they would play like Tony Hawk and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the other was one of my math teachers who, for whatever reason, was involved in the art academy, and I got into the art academy because I brought in some work, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Zelda, I love that game." I'm just like, "Yes, I'm in high school now."
Nice.
I had horrible school experiences up until I went to high school, so it was a nice, like, oh wow, no one knows who I am. This is great.
Nice.
So you had the typical American schooling experience then.
Yes, very
That's the
typical.
thing
You
we
know, the
always
one where
see
your
in-
math teacher goes, "I love Zelda. That's a great game. Welcome to the art academy." Very typical. Very, very typical.
Again, no, but with the bad school experience before that.
No, yeah, you know. I'm sure.
If you go by popular culture, it seems that every American in high school is either a bully or getting bullied. There is no middle ground.
That was my
know?
experience until high school.
Right.
So, finally, Bastion Reigns from Above is a gift cat you should definitely check out. This was posted to the Overwatch subreddit by Trent1055 if you want to go look it up yourself. But this was just incredible. Goes in the Bastion tank mode, shoots the ground to get some air. Another ability, I'm not sure what, because you can't see it on like in the GIF itself. Rockets him up way higher than I think he ever expected. This was on Volskaya Industries on the second point, by the way, and he basically he gets way more kills than he should have because he gets to Pharah-like heights while in tank mode as Bastion. Oh, and it's just incredible.
It's flying Bastion. It's amazing. And you know, that made me think of what Kaplan was saying a few months ago when talking about different characters and different abilities they would like to work into the game somehow. He didn't say much, but he did mention they really loved the old jump pads from, what was it, Doom, or was it Unreal? I can't remember. And that it was really fun to experiment with these kinds of physics breaking mechanics. So seeing something like that would be really fun, like having someone's ultimate be some kind of jump pad of some form, and enabling all of these weird things to happen. And if you haven't seen the GIF, go ahead.
It should just be the big red spring from Sonic. Like someone should just throw that out. And it should have the exact same sound effect. The boing. And there you go.
That would be pretty sweet, actually.
I mean, if they do that, I'm sure they will do a voice line of some kind that will reference Sonic. I'm sure it will happen.
You know who it should be? They should come up with a hero that's, I don't know, related to Torbjorn, but it's the bad apple, and it actually became friends with Junkrat and Roadhog. So it's this kind of, it's a tinkerer, but it's all dirty and scrappy.
Ooh, angry Torbjorn.
Yeah, Torbjorn with a mustache. Ah, crap, he already has one. Unfortunate. So yeah, evil Torbjorn actually is clean shaven. There you go. That's
Okay.
Or he has a very
Okay.
thin mustache he can twirl.
yeah, it's a yeah
Right.
one of those French mustaches. Like Patrick has never had.
Ooh, Torbjorn's evil twin brother is French
Yeah, for some reason I don't know.
for some reason.
Don't ask me why. Let's talk esports because it was kind of a big week
Wow.
for Overwatch esports. The Overwatch Open concluded this past Friday on TBS, which means I got to chill on my couch and watch it like a normal red-blooded American with beer and sports snacks. It was
Yeah,
it was
I actually
nice.
had to look for a place because we were at TwitchCon, right? And we had to find a place that would switch it to TBS and pump up the volume and turn down the music in the restaurant.
I
so
feel
that we
like
could
if you're gonna do that, TwitchCon is the place because you can bring enough people with you where you have the critical mass to be like,
that's
yo,
what we ended up doing, which
there's-
was actually amazing. It was like there was a waitress there, and they were reluctant to do it, and we're like, "We'll tip you well. We'll tip you well." We had to say it like 5 or 6 times before it like happened eventually,
It was
like
that
step
hard,
by step.
really?
Yeah.
How many
yeah,
people did you bring with you?
We had like a lot of people. We had so I had a couple. There were a couple players from Team Tempo Storm, like the Overwatch team, and then their manager, and then let's see, a couple of the hosts and hostesses were there with me.
Yeah, man.
And Chris Puckett was there. He's a host. He hosted just all kinds of Call of Duty and also Overwatch events too. So we had a lot of us there. It's just
yeah.
yeah,
If you have
those folks still don't have no idea what.
yeah, true.
honestly,
But I'm
Overwatch
just saying, if you have a critical mass of a party of 8 or more, and they won't change one of the TVs for you, I would just move on to the next place.
Yeah. Well,
And
we accomplished it, and it wasn't as much they didn't want to switch it as much as we don't know how to switch it, type of thing. Well, if you find out, we'll tip you well.
You don't know how to switch a TV. Congratulations.
I know.
Yeah, right.
All
You
right.
don't know how to switch the TV, my.
Okay,
Behind.
buddy.
You didn't die, I know whatever. We ended up watching it at least. We finally got a chance to watch it. The volume wasn't as high as I would like, so couldn't hear all of the casting on it. But I could definitely see most of it.
Well, the casting, I thought they did a really good job. The whole thing, I thought, was just a overall stellar production. I have, as always, borderline insane nitpicks that I don't think anyone other than me either noticed or even care about. But overall, like, the production was just killer. And Patrick, I know you and I talked a little bit about this on Pixels yesterday, but I think it's worth reiterating that the camera work in game I thought was just great. We got exactly what I wanted, which was pulled out, camera angles, a bird's eye view around hot zones where team fights were taking place.
Yeah, it was. I ended up watching it. I found the stream for the finals, or the VOD for the finals, on the E-League YouTube channel, and it was definitely a lot better than the previous tournament I watched. It's still, I think it was a lot easier to understand for someone who knows the game. I still think it's not very easy to understand for someone who doesn't, which is not that surprising. But it was, you're right. There was a lot of first person and long stretches or pulled back cameras that would show you the overall action. And I don't know if it was different because the VODs are on the Observer stream. They specify, this is the Observer stream. If you want the full thing, go to TBS. And I don't know if it was different on TBS or not. So maybe your experience was different than mine, Garrett. But it was definitely a lot better. And on the production side, it was, a lot smoother than it had been. And again, the game has been out of beta for 6 months, so it's not surprising they're still doing better and better on that side. And they have a PTR patch now where they're improving the observer mode a lot. You can set up static cameras and stuff like that. So they're working on that. But aside from that, the level of play and the excitement of the finals was pretty unbelievable. I mean, some of the things that were happening, Taimu on Roadhog with the hook, it's, if anyone had been doing that on a game I was playing, I would have flipped the table, accused everyone of cheating, of aimbotting, and he in a couple of games he literally doesn't miss a single hook on key enemies. You know, he just gets them one after the other. It's unbelievable. And the level of play was really amazing. The level of strategy, you know, you were talking earlier, Reaper, when he has his ult, just waiting somewhere hidden and ready to be boosted by Ana, something that I would never really thought of doing quite like that. Again, as we mentioned last time, which was surprising to me, but you guys follow esports a little bit more, so you know, but it's all team fights. Nothing but team fights. There is never someone that goes in. They rarely flank. They do when they need to, and especially to pick off healers. But it's even that is rare. It's entirely composed of team fights, which are probably more difficult to understand when you watch them. But yeah, it was super exciting. I won't spoil the result, but it was a great finals, and the production value or production technique made it even more enjoyable to watch. So I think I'm going to be watching not all the tournaments, but the finals of the big tournaments definitely are going to be on my watch list from now on.
Yeah, no question, E-League was the best produced Overwatch event to date. And they had 4 cameramen, like just folks telling me, they had 4 cameramen and they had a director, essentially, somebody that was commanding, you know, which camera to show. So they did a really good job with that. Of course, you can't be perfect. It's so hard to be perfect right now, you know, just given what the tools that they have. So sometimes I felt like, you know, Genji was still a little bit tough to watch at moments, and but they did generally avoid all the characters that are very hard on the eyes, which was very great. And then they had a really good sense for when to switch to Reaper. You know, so they knew when Reaper and Ana's ults were ready to go. It's almost like, you know, they were shot calling on that side of the you know, that side of, or for that team, right? Because they would
definitely know the game,
right? Because they went to Reaper and Reaper would just be sitting there hiding. Then all of a sudden Reaper would go in, and it was literally like a 1 or 2 second difference there, which makes a huge, you know, it's very, very large when it comes to like productions like that. So yeah, they caught really, really great moments. You know, when they went to Taimu on like amazing moments, like on the King of the Hill maps where he was pulling soon, like the Tracer. That was that was some of the best things I've seen in competitive Overwatch, like period.
The one in Nepal?
The one in Nepal, and even some moments on Lijiang Tower. I think it was just wow, like out of this world stuff. Yeah. Even all the pros were just like, holy crap, Taimu. That was like 80-90% pulls rate, right, or hook rate there. So
there was one point. There was one point where Taimu was, you know, looking around, making sure everything was okay, and Tracer, I'm not kidding, she pokes her head out once for half a second, and she does it again thinking, you know, he's not going to get me. Like, I just poked one. He saw me for half a second, pokes her head out again for half a second, hooked, dead. It's mind-blowing.
I can barely even hit Tracer. You know, like when I'm Soldier or something like that, much less hook them with a Roadhog, right? So that was crazy great. And yeah, so overall, I think the E-League did an outstanding job. Of course, this is a first pass, so they can work on a few things, but overall, just even the downtime, I think, in the last 2 days between matches, I think was extremely short. And, you know, as a viewer, that's super important for me. The last thing I hate is like, you know, over talk, you know, type of thing. So
they had little interviews prepared with
that was
and stuff
awesome.
like that, which was so great.
They had interviews. They were showing hero spots, educating, you know, the viewers on the heroes, which I thought was great. Overall, man, I just really loved the production. My insane nitpick that I didn't hear anyone else mention is the color red for the red team on the UI elements is almost unreadable on an actual television, unless you have a really good TV and you're up on it like a monitor. I couldn't tell.
It's almost what I didn't hear.
It's almost unreadable. It's because of the font type they use is so tall and skinny because it's a condensed type font. When red is in control of a point and the percentage is ticking up, I couldn't read what it was at. I would have to wait until the blue team would retake it so I could be like, oh, it's at 90%. Okay, cool. All right.
That's a general complaint I have, even with the game itself, is the colors that they use for both sides. You know, like the red and the blue.
Yeah.
It can be hard to see sometimes in the game. So
Yeah,
I hear you.
And red and blue is
Definitely.
obviously used in just about every team-based, you know, game you can think of. It's red, it's versus blue. There's a Halo comedy series still running about it. Like, but the way you choose to, you know, the thing with Overwatch is they have this semi-translucent kind of reverse dropout going on. Like the numbers, if you're in control, are clear, so you're seeing the game behind it, and the red is already semi-translucent. It's just, it's difficult to read. I really wish they would just make the numbers white so it pops against the red. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other games what they do is just the health bars are red or blue, and you know, like names and whatnot are white.
Yeah,
and that's something I made a suggestion a long time ago about, and I still think it would work pretty well.
Yeah, but like I said, to me,
thankfully that's an easy change. I think.
Yeah, it is an
becomes
easy
an
change.
issue.
It is a very easy change for sure.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I think it's a nitpick, like I said, and also like I thought at first it was my TV, but the top, like where the team names was getting cut off.
Really?
Oh,
I don't know if anyone else
that.
noticed that, but it was still, I could still read it, but it was getting cut off, and I was like, "Oh, is someone messed up with my aspect?" Nope, totally fine. Weird, but yeah.
So, tell me, you guys saw the Failfish handshake with Seagull?
The what?
Did you? Oh, okay. Sorry, I gotta link this. You guys didn't see this. I have to link this because
I only watched the finals, so Seagull wasn't in there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's. Okay, this was big news.
Is this the thing they're making fun of on Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You see that? Okay, maybe Patrick didn't see this.
I saw the Jimmy Fallon bit, which I thought was barely humorous, but.
Oh, really? Well, I mean,
yes,
the fact that
I saw it.
The fact that it made it on Jimmy Fallon, I think, is kind of a big deal, though. That just E-League would make it on there. But generally speaking, like that moment is kind of like, you know, it's even though it's like making it look a little foolish or whatnot. Just the fact that I think Jimmy Fallon's talking about Overwatch eSports is a step in the right direction, and it probably only happened because it's E-League. You know, it's Turner,
so
basically.
For those who don't know, basically Seagull, which is one of the best players in the game right now, is trying to shake the hand of the host, which is his name, Phil?
The interviewer, Malik, the interviewer, yeah.
And the interviewer isn't looking at him, so you know, Seagull extends the hand and he doesn't see it, so he tries to grab it, and it moves in the wrong way, and so in the end it's incredibly awkward, and Jimmy Fallon made a little skit out of it, which, okay, let's make fun of people. All right, fine, whatever. I'm not the biggest fan.
Really? God, okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, of course it was, again,
I'm protective of our people, I guess. I'm not objective there.
I mean, I'll just make everyone mad. I thought the Conan O'Brien thing forever ago was funnier than this.
The Conan,
yes,
the Conan O'Brien thing. Well, that was like a lot longer too. So I mean, that was, you know, that was a segment that was meant to be funny, where this was just, you know, kind of on the spur of the moment, and you know, I can't believe that happened. Especially it's Seagull too, right? Which is the most popular streamer in Overwatch. So a combination of those two, I think, it made for a very funny moment.
Yeah, it's fine. Overall, Overwatch Open, I thought was a massive success. I'm excited to see what happens in the future. I think the big thing I'd like to see is the system changed up a bit, where we're, you know, hopefully getting more of the opposing country teams meeting sooner than, you know, the finals.
Oh yeah, the structure of it. Yeah. The Gamescom tournament, Atlantic Showdown, I think did a much better job, because once they got into the final brackets, like the top 8, they had them all. I think every one of the matches was NA versus EU, and that ended up being, you know, just really great plays and, you know, storylines and whatnot. And we didn't get a chance to do that until basically the very end, right? And there were a lot of matches that we see a lot, you know, when we're talking about just EU only tournaments and NA only tournaments. So it wasn't until the finals that we actually got a chance to finally see, you know, top NA team versus top EU team again.
Yeah.
Is NVUS really considered a US team though? Doesn't have their players the best players of NA who just moved?
Yes, it's owned. It's an American owned team, and that's about as far as it goes, and that's all that matters. That's all it takes to get a chance of USA.
All
Yeah.
right, all right.
Yeah.
One player, I believe, is from the U.S. out of the 6.
See, Tailspin. That might be right. Yeah. I mean, Tailspin's definitely American, but I think that I don't know if any of the others are.
Because Taimu, Internet Hulk,
Yeah.
I think Coco is anyway. Yeah, so
Yeah, Chips is not.
It's
either,
Tailspin.
so
That's it. Yeah, it's just Tailspin. Then Taimu is from Sweden.
Finland.
Internet Hulk is German. We have 2 Swedish players, Chip and Coco, and then finally Harry Hook is from Spain.
Oh, sure. Harry. That's the one I wasn't sure of. Cool.
Yeah. I also got to give a shout out to Internet Hulk's Winston alt on Nepal, I believe it was. That was really fun.
Oh,
to
when
watch.
he was falling?
Yes, where he was falling to his death, and he's just like, nope, ultimate.
Oh, right.
I love that. I will never get sick of people jumping out of the pit and owning face.
Yeah.
You want to put a smile on my face, that's exactly what I want to see on Nepal.
Yeah.
So.
Well, lots of other esports news too.
Yeah, take it away. There's a lot to cover. So
some big ones. Well, I mean, I guess just to finish the events, there's a couple of events. Well, there's an event happening right now, which is the APAC Premier League in China, and this is actually the first event where we'll see some Western teams battle, some of the Asian teams, Chinese teams particularly. We have NRG and Team Rogue representing, the Western side, and the rest of the teams in the tournament are Chinese. So we'll see how Rogue matches up, particularly Team Rogue, since Team Rogue is one of the top teams just period right now in the world, and the outcome of that will be pretty telling as to at least where the Chinese Overwatch is compared to just us over here. And also, OGN announced this past weekend that they are starting the Apex League, which is really exciting. This is also a league that's going to combine Asian teams and as well as European NA teams. There's going to be 4 top European and NA teams that are going to be there. This is a league that's going to last 12 weeks too, so they'll be there for 12 weeks, which is pretty exciting or pretty crazy for them. And again, will be a very good measuring stick for the Korean teams. We've been talking about the Korean teams coming, and they're going to be at least competing for the top teams in the near future. So this might accelerate things because getting a chance to play literally against the top teams in the world, can only make you better, right?
Yeah.
So OGN doing another great production, and Doa and Monte Cristo will be casting it too. So pretty exciting to see those League of Legends casters getting into Overwatch. And then the last bit of news is just more people investing in esports. Big NBA teams particularly. So the Philadelphia 76ers, for those of you that don't know basketball, is an NBA franchise that ended up acquiring 2 teams, Dignitas and Apex, and they're kind of combining it into the Dignitas brand. So they purchased at least majority share in the teams, and we'll be running the team now. So that's obviously exciting. Dignitas has been a long-standing brand in esports, one of the longest actually. So kind of cool to see that. And another long-standing brand, Team Liquid, as I think a lot of people probably know, was signed by this group that included the Sacramento Kings owner, the Golden State Warriors owner, again, NBA franchises, as well as Magic Johnson, who is a NBA player, a legend, and a very successful businessman too. So again, more basketball players more basketball franchises getting into just esports in general. And then finally, Steve Aoki, who actually performed at the TwitchCon's Twitch party, which was really, really cool. During that performance, announced that he's getting into esports too. So he's actually become an owner of Team Rogue, and it's mostly because he is a huge fan of Overwatch. Loves Overwatch. Got to know the guys from Team Rogue. And those of you who don't know Steve Aoki, he's a musician, EDM. He makes EDM music.
Okay. I'm an old fart.
Yeah.
That's why I had to.
Okay, yeah. So he's actually very, very well known, and it turns out that I didn't know, but he's actually been a huge gaming esports fan for a long time, and just finally getting a chance to, I guess, jump into it, at least from a business standpoint. So another non-endemic investor, which is exciting. Big moments in esports, I think, right now, or at least a big moment, a lot of infusion of cash right now.
We discussed this with Garrett a little bit on my general gaming show Pixels at the beginning of the week, but it feels to me like we've been talking about esports getting bigger, for a year or so, maybe a little bit more. And we did say that, 2016, 2017, and 2018 is probably going to see esports get out of the esports, we can say niche, I think, even though the niche is pretty big when you look at it from the entirety of the real world of entertainment and consumerism, it's still a niche. And it seems like in the past few months, things have been accelerating significantly. Would you agree with that? Or is this just, it's been going on for a while and we just didn't pay attention?
No, I agree with that. I think that there's this point that you have to clear, and in the past, like, we hadn't quite cleared it, where you have, you basically have just endemic sponsors, right? Sponsors that are actually in the gaming space. Things like gear, companies, and even just like competing, just technology companies in investing in esports, and that's something to be expected, and that's been actually carrying the industry for all this time now. And then we had moments where we did have some non-endemic sponsors come in and just dabble in esports. And of course, at the time, the viewership and just the investment just didn't pay off. Like, there was no immediate payout for it because we just don't have that kind of viewership, and maybe just the sales teams themselves just hadn't been that good at selling advertisements to potential advertisers, right? But I think
they didn't smell the money at that.
Yeah,
point.
they didn't exactly. They didn't realize what esports was, so there was just no reason to advertise to this demographic. But I think at this point, I don't know if we're like to the point where these people are getting immediate just profits or revenue from their investment, but they definitely see like the 5-year, 10-year picture now. And like E-League is a perfect example. That just the Turner broadcast, they didn't make money on that broadcast. I mean, let's be real, right? I mean, I don't think the ratings were high enough to really warrant how much they invested in that event. But it's an investment for the future that, esports is going to be big. And we're seeing that now. When we see big franchises and teams, even it's probably just the amount of money, like buying teams, is probably not that much for these type of franchises. But I think they're okay, like not, like it's not a 1-year period. I think these organizations and investors are willing to ride it out for the next, I would say, 3 to 5 years at the very least, and see how that goes. And that's a place that we've never been in terms of esports. So we could still, it's not a guarantee that it's going to be a success. It could still fail, but at least we have a larger runway than we've ever had.
It for something like TBS, it definitely feels like they want their name, their brand associated with esports for people who are fans, who are younger, and who maybe aren't as interested in regular sports or, regular entertainment even. And they want to be associated with esports so that people come to them and maybe stay for the sitcom or the news or whatever. So yeah, that's definitely, I don't think anyone is expecting to make money out of it now, but it's a bet down the line for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday on Pixels, Patrick, we talked about the Twitch.tv statistics that were announced at TwitchCon, right. And I think that that ties into this. That's why I see this as a future-proofing move. It's not. There's a lot of talk in our circles because a lot of folks like us, we're cutting the cord and whatnot and moving to just online streaming to get their entertainment. And while I don't think traditional cable is going to be dead tomorrow, I think there's definitely a decline, and they see this as getting into a space that is up and coming.
Yeah, it's chasing younger viewers. As you know, in marketing, the most valuable demographic is younger viewers with, get them when they're young is basically the mantra there, because they stay. That's, if you start drinking Coca-Cola when you're a teenager, you're probably going to keep buying Coca-Cola when you're, 25 or 30 and not switch over to Pepsi for some reason, and vice versa. But anyway, we're talking about marketing now. But it has a lot to do with all of it. That's the motivation even for the sports team. I'm sure some of them love esports. I think more of them are thinking, well, young people, a portion of the younger population is moving on to other things or is enjoying other things than sports. How can we get them to? Well, let's go and invest in those areas that they're interested in.
And I think it is like the demographic right now is that younger crowd, but I think they see it as being potentially, even more pervasive than that. And particularly these sports franchises, I see them. It is a small investment in terms of like again like how much these teams are worth, but still I see like guys like Mark Cuban and a lot of these other even Maury, right, from Houston Rockets, who's been these are two guys that have been talking about esports for the last couple of years now, really pushing it even in that industry, just the sports industry. And that's kind of why we're seeing these other teams getting into it too. I think they see it as it becoming, like a lot of the kids right now are going to be adults in 5 years, 5-10 years, and
course,
they're going to be
yeah.
having kids. And then, I mean, we're going to have a new generation of just, sport or esports, spectators and fans. And so the number is just going to continue to grow, much less, just having that current demographic. That demographic is going to turn into like the 28 to 30, 35 or 28 to 40 demographic in a 5-10 years. So yeah, I think it's just overall it's just trying to
Get
ride
them when they're young.
exactly. Oh, get them while they're young. True. That's exactly like you said.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Thanks for rounding all that up, Chris. There's been just so much
Yeah.
going on in the world of Overwatch esports and so much to watch. So get out there. We've got links in the show notes. If you want to check them out, go to amove.tv/Overwatchers. Find the episode 32 post, and this will be linked at the bottom. I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. This is the episode 32 of Overwatchers. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Huge thanks again to our patrons supporting us over at patreon.com/Overwatchers, as well as our producers, LVE, as well as Kettle and Clock. You can follow the show on Twitter at OverwatchCast. If you ever want to send us an email, you may do so at mailoverwatchers@gmail.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes or over at youtube.com/AMoveTV. Also, if you dig the show and you want to help us out for free, go to iTunes and drop us a 5-star review. Thanks to Jay, thanks to Olcutch, and Nutcase for dropping us some reviews on iTunes. We really do appreciate those. Chanman, dude, where can folks find you when you're not on this show?
They can find me over on everything that ends in Chanman V. So YouTube, twitch.tv/Chanman V, and YouTube and Twitter, all that stuff, Chanman V. And if you like Hearthstone podcasts, you can watch Value Town a little bit later today at 4 p.m. over on my Twitch channel too. We'll be talking just a lot more Hearthstone. And that might be the last thing I do before I have to hunker down before this hurricane that's about to hit Florida. And hopefully I'll have power in 2 weeks when we do the show again.
We'll be fine.
That would be terrible if I don't. But I'm assuming that I'm not going to have power for a few days here.
Oh my God, really? You're both in
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
Is that hitting both of you?
He's more inland than me. I mean, he's more West Coast.
Yeah, I'm West
I
Coast.
am.
Chris is more
Yeah.
East Coast. It's a Florida thing. We're used to it. We've all been through it at one point or another, most likely. Is this your first hurricane,
actually,
Chris?
I've been here 12 years, and this is the first one, at least in Florida. I've been through hurricanes like in Texas before, but never in Florida, though. So this will be the first time in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
be safe, man.
Good luck to you.
Yeah,
It's
thanks.
usually not too bad.
Thanks. I've been like shuttering my windows like Rainbow Siege 6, Rainbow Siege 6 Siege. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna prepare for the breach.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm sure it'll be fine unless it like ramps up to some Andrew level craziness.
Oh gosh, yeah. I hope not.
No, it's unlikely. So, Patrick, where can folks find you?
I'm not Patrick on Twitter and on Facebook, and I would recommend you go check out the latest episode of Pixels, the gaming show we referenced a little bit earlier today, where we discussed things with Garrett, and we talked about all of the gaming news that were important in the past couple of weeks. We talked about Amazon, TwitchCon, their moves there, and their synergy, eSports, of course, a little bit longer, and Forza Horizon 3, which apparently is great, which I didn't realize, and a bunch of other things. So if you're interested, go to frenchspin.com and check out the show Pixels.
Yeah, definitely go do that. I always have a good time guesting on there. We had some good discussions yesterday Everyone, if you'd like to, you can follow me on Twitter at Garrett Art. You can find all of the other podcasts I do on amove.tv. I would recommend, if you're a WoW fan, checking out Embrace the Spoilers, where Jocelyn Moffat from The Angry Chicken and I, we just recently posted our 5th and final episode spoiling Legion, where we talked about Suramar. We'll continue talking WoW, but this is the end of at least the particularly the Embrace the Spoilers discussion of WoW. So go check that out, amove.tv. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you again to Patrick and Chris for joining me today, and we will see you next time for the next Overwatchers. Until then, good luck and have fun.
Bye.
My earpiece is wigging out on me.
No.
What are you using there? What are you using there?
It's one of those little coil things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just a one single ear?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's wigging out on me. I think it may have come a little disconnected in the back. Anyways, good show, guys.
Yeah, good show.
Yeah. Thank you very
Lots to
much.
talk
It was
about.
fun, as always.
Indeed. I'll talk to you gents later. Chat room. You guys were awesome.
Bye.